Hello, everybody. Welcome back to some more world history with China as our area of specialty. We are going to take a look at Chapter 12, Section 1 of the textbook, which is about China during the Tang years. And of course, if you're my age, the first thing you think about when you hear Tang is not a Chinese dynasty, but instead an awful orange powdered drink that used to be what astronauts had in outer space. Now, I think they might have something better. China was a mess for about 350 years after the fall of the Han Dynasty. Then, just before the year 600 CE, or AD, as you might call it if you want to go with the Christian idea of the calendar, there was a new leader named Wendi, W-E-N-D-I. And Wendi pulled the country together and started a short dynasty called the Sui, S-U-I. These people are the ones who built the Grand Canal in China, which connected the Yangtze River and the Huanghe River, and was massively important for Chinese commerce. However, it was so expensive to build that it pretty much bankrupted the government, and high taxes had to be charged to make up for it. Plus, a bunch of the people who were forced to work on it were really, really unhappy about being forced to work for the government in that way. So the people rose up to fight against the taxation and the human slavery, and replaced the Sui dynasty with the Tang Dynasty. This was started by a general munamed Tang Taizong, T-A-I-Z-O-N-G. And Tang Taizong reconquered northern China and western China. He was followed by the Empress Wu Zhao, W-U-Z-H-A-O, Wu Zhao. And Wu Zhao conquered Korea for China and became the only ever empress in Chinese history to run the country regardless of what man she was with. There were women who ran the country because they were the emperor's moms sometimes, but she was the only empress who did it because she inherited it. The Tang Dynasty they expanded the system of roads and canals in China and brought back the civil service exam system, taking a test to see if you qualify to be smart enough for government service. This meant that power was spread among smart people who could run a government effectively. Mostly, of course, they're from wealthy families because they were the only ones who didn't have to work in the farm fields all the time. So the smartest nobles in China ran the country when they had an exam system, and the civil service exam system was during the Tang Dynasty. The Tang, though, lost power because, again, they were charging high taxes on the people, because there were peasant rebellions and also invasions by people who followed a new religion off to the west of China. And if you think about it, we're talking the 700s here. What religion is new to the world that starts just west of China? Islam. So we're talking about Muslims. Muslims invaded China. After 50 years of no dynasty really being firmly in control, there was a new one. The Tang Dynasty was gone, and it was time to welcome the Song Dynasty, S-O-N-G. This dynasty lost a lot of land to invaders in the north of China. They moved the capital south to make up for the land that they lost. They moved it to Hangzhou, H-A-N-G-Z-H-O-U, Hangzhou. They created a new strong China based on a smaller but very strong economy. A lot of inventions happened at this time that were really crucial for the human race in China, including movable type, this idea that we can print a large number of identical things instead of handwriting them all, because we can move the type set, move the letters or the characters around, made of metal, so that we can reprint. Also, the Chinese invented gunpowder at this time. Hugely important for the world going forward, usually for the wrong reasons. Gunpowder was used in China for fireworks, for rockets, and for grenades. But they didn't really have individual pistols or muskets or firearms that were really handheld for the individual throwing a metal ball. It was mostly just missiles and grenades and fireworks. They were also great mathematicians. There was a lot more food in China at this time because they discovered a faster way of growing rice, actually a faster strain of rice, a different rice plant. And this rice was able to be grown multiple times in a single year to fruition instead of just one crop per year. China tried to take really good care of their trade routes. They invented new magnetic compasses and sails in different shapes so that they could catch the wind from different angles. This helped the Chinese set up new areas around the world called colonies, areas where the mother country sends some of its people to go and settle and make the people in that other place loyal to the original country. So colonies all over the continent of Asia, especially in the southeast. And these colonies didn't just spread trade, they also spread Chinese religion, like Buddhism. This is a golden age, the Song Dynasty, the Tang and Song dynasties, a golden age for art and culture. One of the greatest poets of this time period was Tu Fu. He wrote emotional poetry about war and suffering. There's a really good poem on page 326 of our textbook about looking up at the stars and seeing the exact same stars as his wife, who's hundreds of miles away. While he's suffering as a prisoner of war, he knows that looking at those stars, he's looking at the exact same stars as his wife and children that he's missing. There were great advances in Chinese art and painting as well. Lots and lots of Taoist-influenced nature scenery. Long horizontal paintings of riverbanks with mountains in the background. Very vertical, thin paintings of tall cliffs and mountains. Social classes. China had more wealth and culture under the Tang and Song dynasties than before, so there was actually some social mobility. People could make more money and rise up the ladder of respectability. But remember that in China, unlike in Western Europe or in America today, you do not get a better reputation or move up in social class by being a merchant and just buying and then selling to people and making a profit from it. That's considered to be lower class. Farming is more important, and you're a higher social class than merchants if you're a farmer. There was a brand new social class of farmer who had more land and more money and larger buildings. And this is the gentry. It's a Western word that we use, the gentry. More people got better jobs in the government, too. Women were treated pretty much the same as before. They didn't have very much freedom. There was a lot of hard work for women to have to take care of the family, plus work in the fields. Rich women went through a really fascinating and nasty process called foot binding. And for those of you watching at home, I'll leave a couple of videos for you of this crazy practice. It seems to us to be just crazy, of taking a young girl's foot when she's 3 or 4 years old and wrapping it up tightly so that as her body grows, the foot grows in that binding to be more like a pig's calf, like a hoof, than it does like a human foot. This was one way that men kept women at home, kept women under their control by making it hard to walk and painful to leave the house. If you were rich, your parents bound your feet when you were a baby girl to make it more likely that a rich man, when you were old enough, would want to marry you because he knew he could properly control where you went, who you hung out with, because you wouldn't want to go walking around outside of the house with feet like that. So, that, after only 10 minutes, is our video for the day. So, that is China under the Tang and Song dynasties, and we'll see you more soon for more. Yeah, that.